Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of the Andy Warhol Diary and the old Razzle Dazzle. Today, we're going to look at Thanksgiving Day, November 25th, 1976. Just to preface, my cat decided that she wanted to come into my office, and she's sitting on the floor with her crinkly papers. So if you hear any papers crinkling, it's just her. So today we're going to look at Andy Warhol's journey to the Wyeth house in Chatsford, Pennsylvania. And like we always do, let me just get to my screen here. I just want to start off with a PSA about my uncle, Charles Pancheri, who was killed in his home on October 4th, 2011. He was found in the kitchen of his home on the floor. He pronounced dead at the scene of multiple stab wounds. Neighbors reported that they saw a ladder outside of the back window, which my uncle was in his 70s. There's no reason for him to have a ladder outside. He's not going to be climbing up it. So they thought it was suspicious, but they found that the next day. If you have any information on the death of my uncle, his name is spelled Panchery. Can you please call Union County Crime Stoppers at 908-654-TIPS? That's 908-654-8477, TIPS. Or you can go to www.uctip.org. So that's unioncountytip.org. I would really appreciate it. There is a potential reward for information up to $5,000. I'm just going to grab my glasses. Hold on one second. They're right here. I can't see a damn thing. And with that, let's get started with Andy Warhol going to Chatsford, Pennsylvania. So early in the morning, Fred Hughes called about 8 a.m. to find out what time they were going to be leaving. Andy then received a call from their friend who was going to come along if they were leaving after 12 noon. So we have the map here that they were going to be taking. They're going from Manhattan to Chatsford, Pennsylvania. It's about a 2-hour drive. And in the picture there, we have Jamie and Phillis Wyeth. They were hosting Thanksgiving for Andy Warhol and friends and whoever wanted to come by. We have Fred Hughes. And then to the right, we have Barbara Allen D. Kawatowski, also known as Barbara Tanner, and she was going to come along with them if they were leaving afternoon. A little bit about Barbara. Barbara was a 25% owner of Andy Warhol's Interview magazine. Her first husband, horse breeder and self-described newsprint entrepreneur Joseph Allen, bought the stake in the magazine in order for his wife to have something to do. Barbara was regarded as one of Andy's greatest muses, and she didn't care about celebrities or gossip, which is probably why Andy allowed her into that inner circle. He didn't like people who wanted to glom onto him for his celebrity contacts or who was going to constantly be asking for things, like Valerie Solanas, when are you going to publish my screenplay or whatever. She didn't ask a thing. She was happily married. They had plenty of money, and she didn't ask for a single thing from Andy. Andy didn't like people who wanted things from him. Barbara also had a fantastic eye for art and jewelry, and she had a large collection of both at the time of her death in 2020. She was also skilled in having an intuition of what would be the next big thing, which was very important to Andy because he tended to get caught up in things, and he needed those people on the outside of his like peripheral to give him an idea of what was going to be hot next, which is where Andy got the idea for the Mao Zedong portraits that he took. He originally wanted to do somebody else, but Mao was very timely at the moment, and it turned out to be a fantastic move for him creating those portraits. So first, before they left for Chad's Ford, Andy cabbed from his home to the office at 860 Broadway to pick up some things to take along. He remarked that it was a beautiful day. Let's see. Andy was impressed that Jed Johnson drove straight from New York City to Wyeth's home with only one phone call for directions. And that was at the very end when Jed wasn't sure what road to turn off to get to the house. Now, no GPS back then, right? Just driving 2 hours to Chad's Ford. Probably never been there before. They have a map. That sounds like a lot of what my parents used to do. My parents never took a map anywhere. I remember this one time we went to Florida and my father got on, I think it was Route 95, and his outlook was, well, we'll just keep heading south until we hit Florida, that kind of thing. And then we'll just look for signs for Orlando. They had no idea where they were going. And my parents also never made hotel reservations, and they're still the same way today. We would just drive around until we saw vacancy signs, and then we would just stay wherever that was. The party arrived at the Wyeth residence around 4 p.m. Traffic wasn't bad, and Andy noticed that Barbara Walters didn't come after all. I suppose she was, or Andy heard she was invited. Andrew Wyeth was at the dinner, and that's Jamie's father. Now, Andrew Wyeth is very famous for his Christina's World painting, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I actually went to the Christina's World house. It's located in Cushing, Maine. It's currently closed right now for some major renovations, and I took some pictures that I'm going to be showing. But this is the website right here, and you can go to the farmsworthmuseum.org, the Olson House, to click around in there. It really is worth the trip if you get up to New England. Try to go not on a weekend because that tends to attract a lot of tourists that want to make the drive. So to get to the Wyeth, the Olson House, you have to purchase tickets at the Farnworth Art Museum, and that's located in Rockland. And in Rockland, they actually have a lot of Jamie Wyeth's paintings there. So you go in and you say, you buy tickets to go to the Farnsworth Museum, but then you get like an add-on. Hey, can I go to the Olson House? And then it's like a nominal fee. And then you travel to the Olson House, which is located 30 minutes south of the Farnsworth Museum. So we have some photos that I took here. Now, these photos I did not take. I did not know that the graveyard that Christina Olson is actually interred in is like literally right down the street. Like you can see the house, from her final resting place. And actually Andrew Wyeth is buried there as well. You can just walk there. You just follow the path. You can see right here, there's like a little dirt path, and then you come to the grave sites. And then you can go to this website at carolynshadegardens.com if you want to find some more pictures. So these are some photos that I took. The big green thing in the front right here is not a bush. That's actually me. But you can see the house and the barn. And if you've seen the Christina's World painting, and I'm assuming if you're here and you're watching this, you know all about Christina Olson and Andrew Wyeth. But these are just some photos that I took. It's really a nice house. So this door right here is actually the door that you go into. And then I think it's to the left of the door, there's like a little hospitality desk. And then on this side to the right, there's like a table set up, and they had a book all about the house and all of, Andrew Wyeth's paintings that he did of the house. And you can actually, take the book with you and walk around and like see all the different points of view and where he was actually standing when he painted certain pictures. So this is one like right from the front as you're pulling up. And this is the kitchen where Christina Olson spent most of her time. She would sit at the either in this rocking chair or at the kitchen table. Christina, for if you don't know, she was crippled. I can't remember the name of the condition that she had, but it made it really hard to walk around. And her brother actually took care of her throughout pretty much her whole life when she started getting really sick. She loved chrysanthemums, so they always make sure that they have some nice chrysanthemums there for her on her windowsill. No heat in that house. It was heated by a wood stove, and you could see the big stove right there. And really, they lived on the first floor, just in the bottom couple of rooms. Christina used to spend her days in the kitchen, and then there was like a hallway in the other direction that we're looking at, and she had like a little cot set up in there, and that's where she would sleep. So the hallway would be like through this door, and that's where Christina would have her little makeshift cot, and then she would get up in the morning and go sit in the chair all day long. And the front door where she would sit was like one of those like those split level doors. I don't know what you call them, but so you can only open the top of it, and she could leave the bottom closed and just stare at the door all day long. And that's how she spent her days, really. She couldn't even go to the bathroom. She ended up sitting on newspapers, and when the newspapers were wet, her brother would change them out for her for some new newspapers, and that was basically her life. Here you can see the kitchen, and to the right you can see the painting that Wyeth did of this room. And that's a pretty cool thing too. As you walk through, they have like prints of that are like a reference for the room. And this is the death stairs, which they're not creaky or anything, but they are very steep. And this is looking out the front door. So this would be the door that you come in, and then to the right and to the left would be like the hospitality desk and the table with the book on it. This is an upstairs bedroom. I think it looks like it might be upstairs. The creepy thing is, well, it wasn't really creepy, but it was very serene. I came on an off day, and I was the only one walking around in the house during this time. So like the house was just completely quiet, and it was just me walking around. Here's a not creepy bedroom, nothing scary here, right? This is second floor. And out the window here, you can see the barn. Or maybe it's it's hard to tell, but there's definitely a building out of this window. And then this little corner, I love this little corner right here, this little thing. And then you can see that Wyeth liked it too, because he painted it. He painted like the curtains that were pretty much disintegrating. The house was in very much disrepair because they didn't have the means to fix it up, and really they just lived on the first floor anyway, so there was no reason for them to come upstairs. And this is just a random picture, and you could see the picture that Wyeth did right here of the view from the outside. You're actually looking at the rooftop of the two smaller buildings. So you have like the garage, and then I think there's like a small hallway, and that's what the two smaller. You have like the main house, and then a smaller hallway part, and then the garage. So that's what we're looking at. And then this is a trick I learned from, I think his name is Scott Michaels. He runs the Dearly Departed, or he used to run the Dearly Departed tours in LA. When he went to a celebrity's house, he always got a picture of their mailbox. So here's the mailbox. And that's the Christina World's house. So now we're going to go back to the Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just going to get a drink really quick. Another guest that was invited to the Thanksgiving dinner was a person by the name of Frolic Weymouth. He was born as George Alexis Weymouth, and he was an American artist and a member of the DuPont family. He's on the left. They were well known in the area for the chemical industry, and they're a well known family in Delaware. Their family fortune originated with the manufacture of gunpowder, but grew into dyes, textiles, and other chemical products. The DuPonts were responsible for developing and bringing products into everyday use, such as rayon, nylon, Kevlar, Teflon, and neoprene. According to some reports, the DuPonts were responsible for the development of forever chemicals. George Frolic was given his nickname by his mother after George's younger brother lost his dog and kept asking his mother, "Where's Frolic?" His mother was tired of the constant question and told him to shut up. "Here's your damn Frolic." And she put the younger child in front of George. So I couldn't really follow that story, but it had something to do with the dog and the mom getting angry. Andrew Wyeth and Frolic were close friends. Frolic was married to Andrew Wyeth's niece, Anna Brailsford McCoy, and that's her over on the right. By the time of this dinner, Frolic and Anne were divorced, but Andrew Wyeth still kept in touch with them and invited to Thanksgiving dinner. Anne left Frolic for an antiques dealer, and Frolic was going through a period of depression during this time. And Andrew's son, Jamie Wyeth, married Frolic's cousin, Phillis. So you have this intertwining of these two families. You have Jamie Wyeth, who was Andrew Wyeth's son, Jamie, married Frolic's cousin, Phillis. And then Frolic was married to Andrew Wyeth's niece, Anna Brailsford. And this is going to get confusing to the point where I actually pulled a copy of their family tree so that we can take a look at this, because there's more family members we're going to look at. Frolic was also a whip, which means he owned and drove antique coaches and carriages and used them regularly. Famous passengers included Richard Nixon and Michael Jackson. And that's a picture, a painting that Jamie Wyeth did of Frolic in the middle. Frolic once drove his carriage into New York City from New York City to Saratoga Springs, New York, and then to Shelburne, Vermont. He also took the carriage through Harlem and caused quite a scene. Andy mentioned, okay, so we have Andy Warhol. We have Andrew Wyeth. Okay, so Andy Warhol mentioned Andrew Wyeth's two sisters who were also at the dinner. He speculated that one of the sisters looks like she drinks and paints, and he referred to her as nutty. I'm sorry, that's not Anna Brailsford. That's actually the sister that Andy's talking about. So let me just get to her. This lady right here. This lady right here is Carolyn Wyeth. And she was actually the one who taught Jamie how to paint. She was a painter who was described as being really crazy in a fun way. And she had like 8 dogs running around the house at all times. After Carolyn passed away, her cremated remains were shot into the air and blown up like Hunter Thompson during a memorial service in front of her house. So that is Carolyn. All right, so now I pulled the family tree because we need to talk about some of these family members. So at the top, we have Newell Convers. Let me just get to the Newell Convers, who is N.C. Wyeth, if you've heard of him. He's an illustrator who always was striving very hard to be recognized as an artist, but he never quite broke out of the illustrator title. He was famous for illustrating Treasure Island, I think is probably his most famous. Under him, we have his wife, Carolyn Bacchus, and then their children. So you can see Carolyn, the one we just spoke of, the crazy one. And that was Andrew Wyeth's sister. And then in the middle, you have Anne, who was married to John McCoy. And then at the bottom, you have Anne Brailsford in green, and she's the one who married Frolic. So she's in the Wyeth family. So there is some controversy around this family that has to do with N.C. Wyeth, the Grand Fromage, N.C. Wyeth up here, the big guy. And his son's wife. So you have Nathaniel here as the son, and then this woman right here, Carolyn Pyle. Now, Nathaniel Convers, N.C. Wyeth's son, was kind of famous in his own right. He was a chemist and an inventor, and he was best known for inventing the first safe plastic strong enough to hold carbonated beverages without bursting. Now, the controversy here is that N.C. Wyeth, this Grand Fromage right here, and his grandson, Newell Convers II, were killed when their car was struck on a set of railroad tracks near Chadds Ford. There was some significance to the date of the accident, which was November 19th. Now, November 19th, 1902 was the day that N.C. left his family home to study art, and that was much to the unhappiness of his clingy, anxious, overbearing mother. This led some people to speculate that the deaths were an act of suicide to spare the family of further embarrassment. Now, there was a lot of rumors. It was like the open secret of the family that Newell Conyers and Carolyn Pyle were having an affair. Not only was it an emotional affair, it also turned physical. And there were a lot of speculation that Newell Convers II, so Carolyn and Nathaniel's son, was actually the son of N.C. Wyeth. This affair was not just whispers, it was confirmed by many family members. And after the death of N.C. and Newell Convers, the rest of the family reportedly came to hate Carolyn for the affair, and it was a great source of pain and turmoil for the Wyeths. Carolyn and Nathaniel stayed married until 1973, when Carolyn herself was killed in an auto accident at the age of 59. And so that's the Wyeth family. So you can see right here from the Westchester Railroad, it says a rusting pole marks the location of the awful accident that killed artist N.C. Wyeth and his young grandson in October 1945. And this rail line was closed here in the early 1970s. So right where this pole is right there is the scene of the accident. So now we're back at a Thanksgiving dinner. Let me just get back to my notes here. The Thanksgiving dinner group stayed up for hours after dinner, talking until about 4 a.m. Andy was still very tired from traveling, but he made the effort to stay up as he wanted to hear all the conversation. He thought the entire night was perfect. There were some romantic vibes between Andy's friend and socialite, Catherine Guinness, and another one of Wyeth's neighbors, Robin West. And I think that's going to be J. Robinson West. I couldn't find anything about Robin West. At the time, he worked for the Pentagon, but was due to be replaced as the new Carter administration would be coming in. Robin remarked he was looking for a rich girl to marry, and Catherine started talking about very graphic subjects such as bodily functions and S&M bars she was familiar with. Typical Thanksgiving dinner conversation topics. Robin offered to give Andy and friends a ride in his aircraft carrier before his job was given to a Democrat. And Andy stayed the weekend in Chadds Ford, leaving on Sunday the 27th. So right now we're on Thursday. So that's it for Andy's Thanksgiving. Now, on this date in history, while Andy and friends were stuffing themselves with turkey, The band, was busy making history as they held their famous farewell concert, The Last Waltz, at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco. Directed by Martin Scorsese, Uncle Marty, it is regarded as one of the greatest concert films ever made. Tickets were $25 at the time. That is $140 in today's money, which is still a bargain considering the amount of money that concert tickets go for. And that was considered a very expensive concert because the average price of tickets back then was $4 to $7. The entire concert ran about 4 hours, but the film release was cut to just under 2 hours. Highly recommended if you have an inclination for a good concert film. And as we always do, we end this PowerPoint presentation with questions. Do you have any questions? You can ask the panda bear with the question marks coming over his head. Other than that, I'll catch you next time where we'll be looking at November 26, 1976, and Andy is still in Chad's Ford. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Let me get you my thing here. MUBBO.